it's a great pleasure for us to welcome Peter Denhammer from Gartner. He's a senior advisor for Gartner. With me also is Guillaume Racher, our head of product at Perfect Memory. And myself, Sébastien Urios, I'm head of business development and partnership at Perfect Memory. So we will start in just 2 minutes. I think there are still people coming in, and to be sure they are not missing the beginning of the presentation. We will wait for them. We will also be able to cover some questions by email. So if we don't have time at the end of the session to answer your question, don't worry. We will be able to answer your question by email, and we will forward your question to Peter if you have specific questions for him. So I think we are now ready to start. Some people are still coming in, but it's time to start now. So I will let the agenda is in four parts actually. First, Peter will tell us from a Gartner perspective how to leverage AI and boost decision intelligence for better business outcomes. And then I will make a quick introduction about our decision intelligence platform. And then Guillaume will share with us some real-life business cases we have been dealt with some of our clients. And then at the end, we'll keep 10 or 15 minutes for question and answers. So I already introduced the speakers, and again, I would like to thank Peter for participating with us at this webinar. And now, Peter, the floor is yours. You can go on and present us the first part of the presentation.
Thank you very much, Sébastien, and thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to participate in this webinar. The presentation that I will share with you is about the emerging discipline of what we call decision intelligence. This is, as we will see, is a discipline that really helps companies and organizations to make better decisions. That is really what it is all about. And we see a growing attention for that topic in the market. Next slide, please, Sébastien. And one of the key reasons that we see that growing attention is that in one of our most recent surveys amongst decision makers in organizations around the world, is that almost 2/3 of those people indicate that decision making today is more complex than it was 2 years ago, which is interesting. Well, more than interesting, it's also very much illustrating how much organizations are challenged with things that are like disruptions and uncertainty, more globalization, more automation, more demanding customers, more need to be transparent, etc. So all of those things are driving the growing complexity of decision making. And what's more, Sébastien, thank you. We also see that people need to be, be able to not just make a decision, but also be able to explain it to others, because of more customer emancipation, because of more regulations that require organizations to demonstrate that they are respecting the privacy of their customers, for example, or that they are not, they're not biased and not discriminating people. So transparency, explaining your decisions is another driver behind the way we are making decisions to improve that. And the other one is that, of course, nothing new, but more necessary ever than before, is the need to use data and analytics as for more fact-based decision making. And so that is because, Sébastien, next slide, please. We see so many drivers that are fueling this growing attention for decision intelligence. In fact, over the past year, we've seen a tripling of attention for the topic of decision intelligence around the world. And behind them are drives that are already mentioned, but perhaps also we see that organizations are wondering, how can we more effectively use data, analytics, and artificial intelligence for our decision making? Because the opportunities to do so, because of the more sophisticated technology that increasingly is available, many companies are interested in, okay, how can we use that technology to improve the way we are making decisions, basically. So next slide, please, Sebastian. So Gartner predicts that by 2024, only more than a year, but not much longer than from today, we will see that not most, but more than 40% of large organizations will have dedicated people practicing decision intelligence. And that illustrates the quick uptake of that discipline that we see in the market. Next slide, please. Now, what is decision intelligence then? You may ask by now, right? So, as I said, it is a discipline that aims to improve the way we're making decisions, but in essence, that is done by building a bridge that over the gap that still exists today in many organizations between, on the one hand, the world of analytics and AI, that where you use technology to make predictions, to make information more easily accessible, to alert people, etc. That's what we do on the one hand, the world of analytics and AI modeling. Whereas on the other hand, we have the business processes, the actual business activities, and the decision making that takes place in that. And all too often, we still see that there is a gap between those worlds of analytics and AI and a world of business processes on the other hand. And decision intelligence, in essence, is about bridging that gap, the gap between analytics and business that still exists. And the way to bridge that gap is by, if you like, treating decisions as a first-class citizen. So no longer do we just talk about data models or analytic models like machine learning models and what have you, or process models, but we also start talking about decision models, which, as the name implies, are models, are representations, explicit representations of how decisions are made today, or how they could be made, how they could be improved if we start applying AI and other technology more effectively. Next slide, please, Sebastian. So the way, just click on so we can see all three. Thank you. So this, in essence, shows you an overview of how decision intelligence is applied. On the right-hand side, we have decision support, something that you probably have been doing for decades already, right? This is where we provide human decision makers with insights like dashboards showing KPIs or some other insight, like a prediction, for instance. But still, in that case, the decisions, for the most part, are still made by the human decision maker, which is fine, but it's not really the end of the story. The story continues with what we call decision augmentation, which is about augmenting or complementing, if you like, the human decision maker with machine-generated recommendations or suggested courses of action, but still with the human fully in control, the human still making the final call when it comes to the decision. But instead of having to figure out themselves which courses of action, which options are available in the facing of certain business event, the machine, AI mostly, generates recommendations to help the human make a better decision. That is a very important area. And then in some cases, when it is feasible or when the risks are acceptable, or also from an ethical point of view, if we want to go further, we can even start automating decisions where the machine makes the decision and where the human should still be involved. As we say, a human in the loop is still needed there to keep oversight and to deal with exceptions and to check whether the machine is indeed doing a proper job. Right, so next slide, please, Sebastian. So this, in a nutshell, can be implemented by what we call decision intelligence platforms. A decision intelligence platform is an emerging new category of software that brings together multiple capabilities. And a lot of those capabilities already exist today, but often in isolation. So you have a tool for this and a tool for that, and still another tool for something else. The decision intelligence platform brings together all those capabilities. They include things like what we call a data fabric, a concept that talks about connecting your decision to many different, if needed, right? In many different data sources, could be structured, could be unstructured, like textual or visual data. Depends on the decision what is relevant, but the data fabric allows you to bring all that data together, often using knowledge graphs and other or so-called ontologies. And well, anyway, let's not go there too much into detail. We don't have time for that. But importantly, the decision intelligence platform doesn't stop there. It also allows you to analyze that data using different kinds of analytical building blocks. They vary from simple statistics that describe certain averages, for example, but they also may be about machine learning, for instance, to generate predictions, or even optimization or simulation techniques. There is a whole myriad of different analytical building blocks that may be relevant depending on how complex your decision is, and also depending on whether you want to achieve automation, augmentation, or support, as we discussed. Now, on top of all of that, in the middle is the ability to then model your decisions, orchestrate how the decision flow is to be executed. And an important element, of course, is also learning, evaluating how your decisions are made, monitoring their outcome, and then see how you can improve it, not just by throwing more technology at it, but sometimes also by, maybe we should involve another human in the decision flow, or maybe we should perhaps think about better education or other ways to improve the way the decision is made. And that also relates to collaboration and governance. How do we make sure that the decisions are made in a fair and unbiased way? How are we sure that we are in compliance and that we are managing the risks of our decision making? So all of that comes together in this emerging category of decision intelligence platforms. Next slide, please, Sebastian. So some examples to make it a little bit more concrete before I hand it over back to well, we also have some conclusions, but some examples. One example on the left-hand side is to be found in, and these are real examples that exist today in the here and now. One is in financial services. This is about online microcredit rating. So this is where you can, as a consumer, if you are buying something online, you may apply for a microcredit to finance your through a loan, to get a loan to pay for your online purchase. Now, many financial services companies starting to automate that assessment of people asking for a microcredit, and they do so typically by applying machine learning for predictive analytics to predict the risk that someone will not pay back their loan. And then depending on the level of risk, you typically apply different rules that says, okay, if the risk is too high, then we reject the microcredit. But if the risk is low enough, then we accept it. And maybe there are some gray cases where we have specific rules we want to apply. Anyway, that is the first example. The second example comes from healthcare. This is where we increasingly see augmented diagnostics. So this is where human doctors are not making the decision alone anymore. Well, fortunately, you may say from an ethical point of view, the human doctor is still making the final call. But interestingly, increasingly, we see that AI is being used, and in particular, deep learning, and combined with so-called knowledge graphs to analyze, for instance, medical scans, like a CT scan. And then the deep learning is able to, for instance, recognize certain anomalies that shouldn't be there. And then using a knowledge graph can connect that anomaly with a certain potential disease or a diagnosis, in other words. So, and then, of course, we should not rely blindly on the AI system. But it turns out that the combined accuracy of the human doctor and the AI doctor is actually higher than when you take them individually. So that's a very promising and I think very positive example of how AI is really used to the benefit of humanity. Now, and finally, there's decision support. Now, decision support is not just simple dashboarding or something, although dashboarding can be challenging enough, don't get me wrong, but decision support can be also very complex. This is an example from a German city where they have created a digital twin of the traffic system in their city, and where they basically simulate things like, okay, what if we change the timing of a traffic light on a junction, or what if we close or open this lane in you know, if you can choose the direction of a lane in on a bigger street. So all of those things you can, in their case, you can try out before implementing it. But still, most of the decision making, which is very complex in a very busy traffic system, still most of the decision making is being done by the human operators who sit in the traffic control room, but who are supported in their decision making with simulation and other optimization techniques. Anyway, to round it off, some recommendations for you. If you're interested in decision intelligence, well, don't make the mistake that it is all about technology. Of course, the important thing is that from a business perspective, what matters most is to ask yourself the question, which decisions are most critical to our organization and how can we improve them? And the answer is not always necessarily only technology. Of course, AI and other techniques can play a role where relevant and desirable, but it's not a given. Importantly, people, if you overemphasize the technology, then you may even scare away people. You know, so we need to find an approach where we recognize the value of human talent, the value of human intuition, and complement that, and not replace it, but complement it with technology. And you can experiment with different techniques. You should, as a recommendation, if you have identified one or a few important decisions, start to create a model of those decisions. Make explicit how they are made today, who is involved, which data or which knowledge is being used, and how you can improve that, which can be done by a new role known as decision engineers. Now, I think that is enough for now. Back to you, Sébastien.
Thank you very much, Peter, for this lightning presentation. And I can say that at Perfect Memory, we totally agree with this approach, as we believe that the knowledge is in the end and in the head of decision makers and also the operational staff, because decision is everywhere across the organization. So I will make a quick introduction of what we do at Perfect Memory. And in summary, we say at Perfect Memory that data is useless, and obviously data is useless without meaning and context. What we saw on the market is that there is a lot of projects, of data projects, that are in failure. It's again a figure from Gartner, an insight from Gartner. 70% of data projects are end in failure. You have 11% of companies that are not monetizing their data, and you have only 32% of organizations that are not assessing, measuring, or monitoring data analytics governance. So the problem is across organization is that people say that you are sitting on a gold mine because you have a lot of data, but if this data is not of quality, if you don't know the context and the meaning in which the data is used, it is useless. So from our perspective, we think that you have to use the human knowledge and your corporate knowledge to be accessible to everyone across the organization at a human level that will be understandable and manageable. And to do so, you need to create a common language that need to be shared between all the people, and that will allow you to create correlation between internal and external data. So our platform is really a combination between human knowledge that is really key to make intelligent decision, and the power of AI, machine learning, and also semantic AI to use the power of the calculation to treat more information and to make those intelligent decisions at scale. So we have 4 main use cases, and my colleague Guillaume will share with you some free examples. But our platform, thanks to its AI orchestrator and its data reconciliation model, can help you to make intelligent decisions in terms of sales and marketing. What is the next big action? It helps you to know more your customer, thanks to the know your customer process. It helps you to detect weak signals across different data sources and to detect insights that will help you to take decisions. It helps also in the media industry, in the broadcasting industry, to extract information from multimedia content and to manage all your media patrimony and legacy to monetize it. On the risk side, it helps to detect fraud, to be more compliant, to check your competitive landscape, for the counterterrorism. Also, we have examples. And at the end of the day, our platform can help organizations to preserve their knowledge. We all know that when someone join a company, the time for the onboarding process is longer because knowledge is not accessible. You have to check in a SharePoint repository for this HR procedure to know how you can ask for holidays, etc. And also we'll know that when someone is leaving the company with part of the knowledge. So in some cases, with part of the decision, the intelligent decision process. So for instance, we can ask the system, which of my clients have one or more subsidiaries with activities in Russia. This is one of the questions we have been asked for by some of our clients. And you see here, so if there are really few clients, but they all have subsidiaries that have activities, it can be a bit complex to understand. But thanks to the technology layers we are using, such as ontologies, knowledge graphs, and semantic AI, we are able to ask this question to our platform, and it will retrieve automatically the clients that are involved in Russia for business purposes. And how do we do that? We basically collect any type of data and content on which we will make a semantic analysis to understand the meaning and the context, and we will turn information into intelligible concepts, we are not thinking at the data layer, but at the knowledge layer to be sure that we understand it all and we can reconcile data, and that makes us the ability to cross and deduce, to reveal invisible link, and then to provide a knowledge access. So we use a combination of three technologies: semantics, knowledge graphs, and artificial intelligence. Of course, human intelligence is also set into our platform thanks to business rules. Every project starts with workshops with the operational staff who will tell us what are the rules they apply when they take a decision. And what we do is that we transform it into an ontology and business rules that will be set into our platform to automate those decisions or semi-automate decisions. So the advantages of knowledge graphs is that you have an abstraction layer, you define a common referential system, you provide a 360 view across the knowledge, and you are also you can cross information with open data and open information. You don't have to put again known information into your system, and also it is multilingual by design, highly scalable and evolutive. So it's a big evolution against classical relational databases. And to make it short, so we have several clients in several markets, and we are more than 15 employees, and our product has been developed for 10 plus years. So I will let now Guillaume introduce you three main examples that are really concrete, and I hope will tell you more about the technology.
Thank you, Sébastien. I will just share myself the screen. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so I am Guillaume Rachet. I am the head of product at Perfect Memory, and I'm going to talk about some concrete business cases Perfect Memory implemented that will demonstrate how semantic modeling and knowledge graph approach provide the way to inject the business rules that will help you to make better decisions. So let's start with a business case we work on with Bouygues Telecom. And we started from this state of fact. Each department needs to access data produced by other departments in order to make better decisions. For instance, here, the infrastructure and network department has no information about the customer contracting offer. The equipment catalog management doesn't know the customers that are eligible for 5G mobile phones, for example, or also who are the customers who experience voice quality issues. And so the bottom line is that it is not possible for these users to directly cross this heterogeneous data in order to make better decisions. So sometimes, in order to start solving it, we consider this data silos issue by putting in place a data lake to address mainly the stakes of volume, variety, and velocity, and knowing now where is the data. But by doing this, we miss the intelligibility of the data. Indeed, words, numbers are just symbols, are carriers for what it really means, with a lot of implicit behind. So as a consequence, will not help the end user to retrieve what they need. So you just don't need to gather the data. You need to reconcile its carried information. And this in a meaningful way for the business users. And that's exactly the purpose of the decision intelligence solution built by Perfect Memory. So in the previous example, we can consider that customer data can bring information about average invoice or place of living for this customer. When we ingest other data that comes from a completely different system, the key is to connect, is to identify the relationships between meaningful information, such as here the equipment characteristics. Also, the network measures brought by the infrastructure department can connect the SIM card to the customer. The customer is, as a matter of fact, an instance of a concept with business implications, and so more and more connections between all these resources. And thanks to the standard knowledge graph approach, all of this can be stored according to the W3C standard recommendation. We are natively interoperable with external information, such as open data sources, like the network coverage for every location in France. So again, a new connection. And finally, the semantic reasoning, what we call the inference mechanism, will bring dynamically, according to business rules, warnings that must be considered in every decision that the organization will take to improve the customer experience. So, okay, we reconcile the information that come from heterogeneous sources, and now we need to make it actionable by the end users. That's what we bring with our Perfect Memory end user interface, which is natively knowledge-driven in all its aspects, access, configuration, search, etc. So you can access network measures, check for the low quality ones, you can identify the concerned clients, you can check the related location area, you can directly trigger the results of the inference mechanism. And so basically, we make explicit for the end user all the implicit carried by the data, and so multiply the entry points to the needed resources. Okay, so this was the first example. We applied the same approach in other business cases, such as the CSR monitoring. For this case, we started from the fact that for a retailer, it is really hard to trace all the supply chain and be warned in case of critical risks. So in the same way, if we reconcile the information in a business-oriented way, we open the way for this risk identification. We can have supplier information, especially the connections with manufacturer, who can have connections with, as an example, harbors having ecological issues. We can have social media content that can, through automatic analysis, identify that a manufacturer is related to deforestation. As human, we know what deforestation means, but again, it is just a word, it is just a symbol. So if you leverage the data to the information level, you natively inject in the system the explicit effects and so the related risks. And again, thanks to the inference mechanism, bring warnings to the end user in order to make better decisions. And again, through the Perfect Memory end user interface, we can access these different connections. We can navigate from a specific supplier to a specific manufacturer and check the connections between all these resources and to be warned at each step of my navigation and considering it for all the decision I will make. And in this example, we can see that the connections between deforestation and the manufacturer has been identified in a video content, and this video content identification will propagate the risk to the supplier. And this is the key here in order to make better decisions. Okay. As a final example, I'm going to talk about a business case in the media area. We can apply, of course, the same approach. Our solution is daily used by France Télévisions and take advantage of the reconciled information that come from data silos. We have indeed, in a broadcasting company, we have data, we have production data, we have editorial data, we have broadcast data, we have audience data. So all of this can be reconciled and be natively compatible with open data, that can, as an example, make explicit in this example that this episode is in Italy, although we only have a mention of Rome in the summary, etc., etc. Again, make all the implicit explicit. And so we can also consider automatic analysis tools as additional data sources that can identify objects and, in this example, commercial breakpoints, helping the advertising sales to take in account the editorial context of the episode for commercial broadcasting. That's what we can see here. We bring together information that comes from different sources, general information about a television program, but also within the program itself in its temporal aspects. Within the program, we reconcile temporal data such as the opening credits. We also reconciled the subtitling. That is also data that can carry a lot of information. And then the automatic analysis, such as the shot identification you can see here. The end user can easily navigate all along the shots in this television program. And the automatic process can identify related shots in order to identify scenes. And as a consequence, the candidates for commercial breakpoints, because of course, you will not add a commercial in the middle of a scene. So finally, thanks to the automatic identification also of entities, such as objects, we'll see it here, yes, when we click on tags, you can see that we have identified entities, and these identified entities brings a contextualized view on these commercial breakpoints, and so help you to make better editorial decision for commercial broadcasting. So that's how you can achieve to inject real intelligence to the system, by thinking a collaborative process between humans and machines, by bringing the human knowledge as business rules that will help the humans to be warned, to reveal the hidden critical information, and finally to make better decisions. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Guillaume. Thank you very much, Peter. I saw that we had a question in the chat, and I have also a question on my side by email. A question, Guillaume, related to this France Télévisions example. Can we imagine to go further and then create automatically new content like trailers and highlights based on those tags and contextual information we have?
Surely, but again, in a collaborative process between humans and machines. The idea is not to replace what the editors can do. The idea is to help to make better decisions, and so we can identify automatically candidates that are relevant for, let's say, a trailer needs, and so we can consider this kind of automatic inferencing mechanism in order, again, to help the editor to be better and better in his editorial approach. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. We have also two questions for you, Peter. One is related to the different steps to implement decision intelligence into an organization. Do you have some suggestions to do so? And the other question is about the different technologies involved. We have not jumped into the technical details, but can you just give us an overview of the different technologies we can use?
Sure. So regarding the first question, what we see in companies that are already applying decision intelligence is that it is important to focus, not try to do it for every decision, because a company makes thousands of decisions every day. Yeah. So you want to focus where it matters most, right? So and it depends a bit on your business strategy. What is important? Is it maybe you want to improve your customer experience. So what are the decisions that are impacting the experience of your customers? Maybe it's more from a risk perspective. Where are you making the biggest decisions in terms of financial risk, for example? Or maybe you want to identify decisions that are important from a strategic perspective, like, okay, we have this strategy to improve our sustainability. Where in our decision, when in our company are we making decisions that have the biggest impact on, for instance, our carbon footprint, as an example? So there are different ways, but the bottom line is that the first step should be to think about what are the most critical decisions that we are making, and then as a next step, think about, okay, how are we making those decisions today? Are we using just the gut feel of our people involved? Are they the right people that make that decision? Or should we involve other people or other knowledge sources? Or perhaps we should apply certain technologies to improve that decision by, for instance, the technology to bring together data from all kinds of different data sources into a more integral, more holistic situational awareness or context that helps you to make a better decision because you have a better understanding of what's going on. That's one part of, that's the second question, right? So some of the technology is about connecting data to build a richer context for your decision making. Another technology, depending a bit on how you want to improve your decision, could be the use of analytics, like making a prediction. I mean, we were looking at what is the current carbon footprint, but how will it evolve if our business continues as it is evolving today? Or still other technology is, of course, machine learning or optimization algorithms or even simulations. It depends on the complexity and the decision at hand. But overall, as I said during my short presentation, increasingly we see software on the market that we call decision intelligence platforms that allow you to model decisions and then use different kinds of technologies to improve your decision. So it's not limited to one technology alone. The ideal decision intelligence platforms allows you to combine different techniques like AI, like knowledge graphs, like analytics and other, if necessary, combine that to build your decision intelligence solutions. Back to you, Sebastian.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. I saw that we had another question about the Bouygues Telecom example, but thank you, Christopher, to bring directly the answer into the chat, and hello, Christopher. And we have a question by Danilo. To continually obtain the best results on this platform, will the company need to be a highly specialized team in semantics and related technology? Perhaps it's for you, Peter, and perhaps Guillaume, you can add some insight about it.
Well, I think in general, companies need to build skills more than often available today that is about modeling decisions. So it's easier said than done, right? How do you make a decision? It's called a decision flow, and the emerging role that we see in the market is that of the decision engineer. A decision engineer is a role that someone that is able to understand and make explicit how the decision is made, and then as a next step, see which technologies could be used to improve that decision. And yes, that typically is not something you do one-off in a project. This is typically once you start expanding your decision intelligence, you need people that can do that on a more permanent basis. Sometimes they are part of a more technological team, I think a better practice is to see them as a team that is closer to your business than to your technology teams, and that is able to work together with your business stakeholders to continue identifying decisions for improvement, and then have a good working relationship with the different technology teams to get the data and to implement the solutions. Sebastian, back to you.
And Guillaume, perhaps you want to add something on this answer?
Yeah, just a quick quick answer is that also what we used to say is that when you deal with knowledge graph and semantic technologies, actually you as Peter said, you need to think at this modeling approach in order to exploit it, to action it in your daily use cases. And we are very used to do data migration. We are very used to fix over and over again the data we can have in our system. So the idea is to anticipate the context of your business area, and so by modeling it, but thanks to the knowledge graph approach, you have a standard that enables you to refine it all along the way, because the graph approach and the connections approach is designed for agility and to evolve in time. So that's why if you put additional efforts on the modeling aspects, you will get better results in any daily use cases. Yeah.
Thank you, Guillaume. And if we don't have any question left, so we will close this webinar. But in conclusion, I would say that most of our conversation is about decision is for humans, and the combination and the collaboration between human knowledge and machine calculation help us to deal with more data, more information, a complex world, and it is useful. And our advice is to start small with basic decisions or most strategic decisions, to modelize it and to find the way humans take currently decisions, and then you can add some new decision into the system, add more information into your platform to help you deal with more decisions across your journey. So thank you all for attending. Thanks again, Peter and Guillaume, for being here with me to present this webinar. And I wish you a good day all. If you have questions, you have all the contacts in the chat. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.